Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Overcoming Graduation and the first ever Morning Commute episode of Overcoming Graduation. Now, this is a show for anyone who's new to it where I work to teach you everything I wished I'd known about life to help you graduate to the next level. And this new series called Morning Commute is something that I'll be recording literally on my morning commute to work because I've been wanting to bring more content to all of you to be able to share more messages and learnings, talk more about the adventures and the journey that I'm on so that I can share messages that can be beneficial for you. Now, one of the challenges that we always face is, there's just not enough time in the day. We constantly use that or face that as a situation where the lack of time is what is holding us back. And it's very easy to play victim to that lack of time. But as I have been taught by my mentors, as I challenge my coaching clients to do, it's always about finding a way. And one of my favorite quotes being, if it's important to you, you'll find a way. If not, you'll find an excuse. So I said, what's a way that I can start to generate more content, bring things that are a little more bite-sized than the general hour format interviews? That makes it easier for me to process and get through the edits and make up show notes. And then I can be sharing more of these messages because what's really easy with any big goal or anything that you're working on is to look at the overarching picture or the current state and identify that as the reality and the only reality, and then work to find ways to make that reality impossible. What I mean by that is, okay, I want to do 5 one-hour episodes every week, every month, whatever the goal would be for you. And then you go, man, all right, let's see, it takes an hour to record, it takes an hour to re-listen and write show notes, it takes about 40 minutes to do just the edits, it'll take another 20 minutes to record the intro and outro, and then loop in and put in all the sounds and all that. Okay, so I'm looking at, really the time builds up quickly, and then it can become very overwhelming to the point, I can't do that. Or, I can't do that right now because there's other things that are higher priorities. If you think about people who have small children or have a really demanding work schedule, it may not be possible to do that. Now, I'm using a podcast episode and editing a podcast as an example, but think about anything that you want to change or improve in your life. Let's say a workout routine. Man, I really want to get in shape. I just don't have the time. Most people say that. Now, there are people who are CEOs of Fortune 500 companies who probably never have a true moment to themselves with the technologically connected age that we're in, and yet they find time. Now, I want to tweak that because they're not finding time, they're creating it. So I said to myself, Brian, where are you limiting yourself and where can you apply some creativity? Use the lessons that you learned, use the lessons you teach to bring more value to the world. Because this whole podcast has been partly an exploration of the journey that I'm on. It has been a relayance of information, a conveyance of information from either me or my guests about the journeys that we all go through in life. So it's really interesting to see how far it's come, how much has changed, how much hasn't changed, how many things are totally different and distinct, how many things are pretty much exactly where they were several years ago when the show started. So when we're looking at the things that we want to change and we're looking at the things in our life that we want to alter, sometimes it's just a matter of asking a better question and also catching yourself when you're hiding behind the word impossible. Now, you may not have said, it's impossible, but when we say, I just don't have the time, that's a really convenient way to just go, okay, so I am, all of the responsibility that could have been there towards doing or taking this action, doing this thing, taking this action, is now gone because it can't be done. It's impossible with the amount of time that I have in a day. And I can almost guarantee that when people say I don't have time, there's a number of potential things, but in general, the great majority of people, it is poor time management, poor prioritization, or an inability or a lack of willingness to get out of the comfort zone. I mean inability in the sense of they're not willing. Because when we are so locked in our comfort zone, and our minds want to keep us safe, I'm doing some air quotes there, and the mind sees familiarity, things it knows, and routines it knows as safe, even if we don't like them. So even if we don't like where we're at, it's better to the mind in many ways than the unknown, because at least we know what we're going to get, even if those results are shit. Even if those results that we've been getting over and over make us sad, unhappy, disconnected, miserable, depressed, whatever, the mind goes, well, at least we won't die. Because the unknown often feels like death to the brain, because it's, in one way, it's death of an identity. It's like how you identify yourself. Oh, I'm not a physically active person. If I suddenly become one, well, who the hell am I? And most people go, well, that's a great thing. That's a great transition. And I think most people would agree, but the mind is seeing that just as change. It's not being biased in the change that's coming, going that's good change or bad change. It's saying that's change, and we don't know what life's going to look like after that, so do we really want to make that change? Because it's pretty scary, man. I mean, I don't know. Should we? And so when we are not willing to make changes, when we're deeply grounded to or deeply connected and rooted and holding on to our current comfort zone, then what we're going to find is that when we attempt to make a change, sometimes we will, sometimes we'll do it for a while, sometimes we'll even hold on for a good amount of time. Sometimes we will get great results. And think about crash diets, think about people who say they're going to train for a marathon, and they do it, and they lose a bunch of weight, and they're feeling better, and they have more energy, great, boom, 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 they go down the line. But then eventually, what happens in most situations is that if a person is not willing to get out of their comfort zone, stay out of their comfort zone, and prove to themselves what a different reality can be like, they will self-sabotage, mentally, physically, and emotionally. When a person has an identity that is rooted in being overweight, and they say, I am a fat person, they tell themselves that. When they start to get on the new, and I hate the word diet, because I really don't, it has such negative connotation. When I talk about the things that I've done, it's not that I'm on a diet, it's that I'm working on changing my lifestyle and changing my habits around food. Now, if I'm doing a certain dietary plan, sure, but for me, it's not about doing this diet so that I'm done and that I can stop being conscious of what I'm eating, because I think that's what a lot of people want, or they think they want. They think they want to be able to work out, and this is hilarious. Beach season is coming up, and I remember back in college, it would be like the 2 weeks to a month before spring break, the attendance at the gym would go up, probably not exaggerating, like 400%. And all of a sudden, you get all these people in here, and it was hilarious because the guys, of course, were doing primarily biceps, chest, and abs, not touching their legs at all. And for anybody out there listening, it's like if you're missing your legs, you're missing so much. Any of your power, your strength, your explosiveness is going to come from your legs, your balance and your equilibrium. Just don't forget your legs. Whoever's out there, don't do it. But you would get a bunch of guys doing chest, bis, tris, and abs, and then you would get a bunch of women doing cardio. So everyone was trying to slim down, lean down, get buff, get cut in 2 to 4 weeks for the big spring break event. And the funny thing is, it wasn't about a lifestyle change. It wasn't about having the healthiest body possible and then, and I'll look great in a bathing suit. It was like, I want to do whatever it takes to look great in a bathing suit for that one weekend or week that I'm off in Cancun or wherever the hell the people were going. And then I'm going to go back to my existing habits because that's more comfortable. And pretty much without fail, within a week to two after spring break, the attendance was down half, 50% of what it was prior. And then within a month, it was back to normal, which the people like me that were the regulars there loved that time because it wasn't just 10-mile line out the door. And the interesting thing when we talk about identity, when we talk about what we are doing in our days and what we want to do, we have to start questioning and challenging where we are hiding behind impossible. Because if you believe that it is truly impossible, then you won't even begin to start asking the questions of how you could make it possible. And as many of you know, I recently moved out to California just about 4 months ago now, and there has been a lot of stuff to do. There have been a lot of things that have needed to be priorities in the move, and then there have also been things that I wanted to and made priorities that have been great things. So that's an important thing to realize as well. With any personal development journey or any projects you're working on, like sometimes there are things that will need to be priorities. There are things, your health, if someone's battling a health issue, or someone you love is dealing with something intense. For parents, when it's children that genuinely need your love, support, guidance, etc. When there are really pressing things, it's like there are times where priorities will come up in your life, and you need to work and adjust to engage them in the best way for you, so that you can do the things you want to in your life. But additionally, there are times where you'll just want things to be a priority. The important thing is to make sure that no one thing supersedes everything else in your life so that you lose sight. What I mean by that is this. So, say in a new dating relationship, you're having a great time with this person, you laugh, you just lose track of time, it's wonderful, it's magical. And now, that jumps up in priority, right? Like all of a sudden you're like, oh, I want to really be with this person and spend lots of time and do this and go on dates and all of this stuff. And so you choose that as a priority, and it's like, so maybe some other goal isn't going to be making as much or any progress as a result, but that can be a hugely wonderful, beneficial thing when that's working towards a drastically huge, important part of your life, and having and cultivating a deep, meaningful, romantic relationship. Now here's the danger, because this was me in just about every relationship I had growing up, was it wouldn't become one of my core priorities, it would become my only priority, at the expense of other things that I not only wanted to do, but were critically important to me. So as things got bad in the relationships, I would stop going to the gym because I thought more time was what we needed. Oh, we just need more time, more communication. That's going to make it better. Additionally, I'm not going to go to my salsa classes. And anybody who knows me knows Latin dance is a huge part of my life. It's been over 4 years that I've been dancing, year and a half since I started teaching. And when I had that in my life, I was a better version of me, just all out. I was happier, I was clearer, I was more relaxed, I had that stress release, I had that endorphin release, I had that connection with people. It's one of the best things in my life, but I started to go, things aren't good with this particular girl I'm dating, so I'm going to stop going because we need more time. And how is that time spent? It's generally just sitting on the couch watching reruns of the same damn show over and over that I didn't really even like. That was her show, but these were all me using covert contracts, which we'll talk about in another morning commute. But me using covert contracts to try and show, hey, look, I'm doing this, I'm leaning in, why aren't you leaning in? That's where the covert contract piece comes in, instead of just communicating and saying what I was really thinking and feeling. So, with all of these things, if the priority supersedes important things in your life, that's when it's becoming an issue. When someone gets addicted to a drug, and that drug becomes more important than everything else, that's a huge issue in a variety of ways. That's a more extreme example. But when someone's work becomes the only priority, and they haven't spent any time with their kids, they haven't gone on a vacation in years and taken a break, they haven't had any sex or intimacy with their wife,